thought you hated Brian before. Welcome to Play in the Field, a Bachelor podcast, your favorite Bachelor podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Field, here at WABC in New York City. Joined now, as always, by my tag team partner, Jen Matarese, also from WABC here in New York, our Bachelor insider, our Bachelor expert, Gina Sirico, not joining us today, apparently had better things to do. And she has some nerve after the episode that we just watched because we have a lot to discuss.
Gina said she's very upset she's missing today. She has another assignment she's on, but she has a lot of opinions on this.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people do, and we saw a lot of varying opinions during the episode, which is good for us because it gives us a lot to talk about and a lot for you to listen to, and no doubt people are forming their opinions as well as we discuss this thing. We'll get to the Brian stuff in a second. I first want to touch on how I was wrong in my feelings about Captain Kim getting dismissed from the show. Because initially I was like, no, I love Captain Kim. He's been through so much, you know, the humiliation on Jones' season, you know, the guys kind of giving him the cold shoulder with the mansion men. And then, you know, he went, as Kathy pointed out, he basically went from woman to woman here in Paradise. Finally found faith. They hit it off. Then he has like an irregular heartbeat. I'm like, what more can this guy go through? An EKG. And, you know, Faith tears up, which obviously at that point you see how much she means to him in a short period of time, and they have this great connection. And then he gets eliminated, and my first reaction was, no, not Captain Kim. But then in the post-elimination interview, he smiles, and the producer says, was that a smile? And he says, yes, because he basically came here to meet someone, and he did. He met someone, he formed a connection, and now they can continue on with this connection after the show.
I really hope they do.
I really hope they do too, and I really think they will.
I hope they do. I think they're a good match. They seem to complement each other, and I couldn't believe when she started crying.
I was
know. Like, wow, she really cares about this guy.
Yes, she does.
I mean, even as a friend, if they tell you something like that, I think you'd be a little, like, worried.
Yeah,
you know?
of course.
Of
but
course,
the tears were real.
They were genuine.
And that was one of the more, obviously, heartfelt moments of this episode. And you felt for all parties involved. And, you know, I thought it was cool when Jeremy came up to get breakfast. He's like, everything okay with your heart? And, you know, he told him that, yeah, it's all going to be good. So you had the youngins checking in on the Goldens. And, you know, he has now found what we hope will be a match for him. And which brings us to the rose ceremony, because it came down to Brian and Kim. And before we get to the results of this, I want you to take off your ABC employee hat and put on your Bachelor fan hat. Two separate hats that you have to wear, and you wear them well. Do we think the actual vote was what it was, or the producers intervened in order to keep Brian on the show? Because that's really the drama of this season, right? You take Brian out, there's really not a lot of oomph in terms of why you're tuning in to watch. We know about producer picks in Bachelor history. We know all this stuff. Is there a world in which that vote was altered to keep Brian on the show?
I don't think it was altered, but I do think that there was some swaying going on where maybe producers could have said, I don't know that they did or didn't. You know, we don't know.
Right. We don't know.
We are not privy to this information.
It just seemed that in the cocktail party, so many people were against Brian.
They were.
That I find it hard to believe that Kim is so lovable. And I understand everybody's point about, hey, he's having health issues.
But do you think they put that sounds like something like maybe producers or even Parisa might have said, like, you know, Kim's having these troubles. Maybe he should go and get his heart taken care of.
Yeah,
you know, and
and that's the other side of it. So maybe they altered it to have Kim go home for that.
Yeah.
It just seemed to me that so many people were against Brian.
And you know, like a lot.
And you know, when you have the editing with them dropping the little tokens in the treasure chest, you're some people, you couldn't see whose picture was on it. You tried to decipher who it was.
I was writing them down at first.
Yeah, I was like pausing. Yes. I'm like, wait, who is that?
And then, of course, then there's the ones you can't see. And I'm like, well, this was useless.
Right.
This was a useless exercise in pausing the TV.
Which helped build up the drama, right? Because we didn't know who the final rose was going to be able to be handed out by.
Yeah. I wasn't sure how they were going to do that either. I thought they were just
I didn't know either.
I thought they were just going to say, sorry, go away, and then do the rose ceremony like they did, but this made more sense.
It did.
Because otherwise, who really cares about the rose ceremony now, right? Like, we know who's getting roses. Right. Although I would love to see someone like Jonathon or like even Kim, who was like, if let's just say like, he had like the perfect match with Kathy or whatever. Like if they would have like switched it up last minute,
right.
Like that could happen, right? It's a rose ceremony.
Still could.
I think it could.
And we kind of got a hint into next week's trailer for next week that maybe there is some things going on in next week's rose ceremony that are going to leave us going, didn't see that coming.
Yeah, it looks interesting.
Well, listen, but in terms of didn't see it coming, your level of surprise that Brian survived and Kim went home.
Not like super surprised, but I was sort of relieved because I wanted to see that continue on. Brian,
yeah, we'll see. Right, that's the whole thing. We need the drama in the show. That's why we tune in.
It's true. Well, that and the love,
of course, but more so for the drama.
I didn't really need to see more of like Kim and Faith making out. Like,
you know what? That's another good point. I'm like, did they send these guys home because there was too much PDA?
I mean, they didn't have to
the
show
rub downs, the whispering in the ear.
The chocolate.
Do you like how this feels? It was just like, wow. Yeah. I mean, listen, we're in paradise. We're at a resort. I get it. But they had the most PDA out of any of the couples, which is funny.
So far.
Yeah. Right. And they were, it wasn't even a slow burn. They were an instant heat.
They're there, right?
Yeah,
so
they're there.
Might as well make the most of it.
Yeah. Kim was just, he was Captain Massage. Forget Captain Kim. He was just rubbing everybody down.
Is it a problem, though, that now we have one golden couple?
And a golden couple that's only friends, by the way.
Yeah. So, like, they've got a target.
Yeah, they've got a target, and you got to feel like they're probably the next ones to go home, talking about Kathy and Keith. Mm-hmm. Although I forget who it was in the trailer for next week said, well, what about Spencer and
Jeremy?
No, Spencer and why am I thinking who he's paired up with?
Spencer and Jess.
Jess, thank you.
Yeah. No, but
Spencer
was it
and
Jeremy
Jess
who said that? Like, was it somebody?
Yeah, it might have been Jeremy who said, these guys are probably the pick to win. Maybe we should get them out of here.
Exactly.
So there's going to be a lot more strategy involved.
It's coming.
Absolutely, it is coming. So, and we, as promised, now have to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is Mr. Brian. And I understand.
I hate him less.
Yeah, you hate him less?
Yes, because he was the only one looking out for Bailey. And
that's what Wells said.
Yes. I think Wells was the voice of reason.
Wells was the voice.
I was starting to think I was crazy. I'm like,
well, that's what he said.
I was like, how are all these people feeling this way when I feel like, doesn't she deserve to have some kind of clue in before she goes home and sees this on TV?
Exactly.
And at that point, let's say they are still dating. That's months in. And you've wasted, well, maybe not wasted if she overlooks it as she did, like all that time. But she deserves to know so she can make a decision, right?
She deserves to know, but was that truly his motive is the question. Because we all know about his history with Brian, with Jeremy, going back to Jen's season, the whole car situation.
They started on a rough foot.
Yeah, and we talked about this last week on the pod, that it's almost like keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Like these two have this weird kind of rivalry. They don't really communicate all that much. It's kind of like, hey, bro, you good? Yeah, I'm good. Like, that's the extent of their communication. And then he made the joke last week, like, I'm going to eliminate you and then throw keys at you when Jeremy made that joke about Brian. So was it looking out for Bailey? Was it to get back at Jeremy?
Maybe
was it to also eliminate another good couple that may have a chance to win? Was there some strategy involved? I think all three of those things played a factor. I think the Bailey aspect may be the last on the list of those three.
I would say it's like second.
Do you think it's second?
Yeah, or maybe even first, but maybe tied with the other motive, which is maybe getting them to go home. Yeah. Like, I think he might have thought that she would find this out and they would leave because she wouldn't stay. I think he thought she wouldn't stand for it. And surprise, surprise.
Well, she damn near left. And
almost.
As I was watching this episode,
I would have left.
I was about to ask and I wanted to get your and Gina's take. And as usual, I'm hoping to pin you two against one another. But since she's not here, we can't get Gina's take on it. But you're Bailey. Mm-hmm. You hear all of this unfold from Brian.
Yeah.
What is your immediate reaction?
I probably would have been too emotional.
Like she was.
Yeah, but he admitted to everything except for the whole proposal thing where he said,
I think they had been drinking because that was not that that's an excuse, But I don't even think he realized he said it. He may have said it and forgot that he said it, but he did own up to everything else.
Yes, but he was like, I never said that. And it's like, there's video of you saying
But
it.
he kind of said it as like a one-off. He kind of like said it matter-of-factly. I don't think
he doesn't say that about Bailey.
Well, but this brings me to my point. My point was, and Jeremy somewhat addressed this.
Yeah.
This was so early in the Paradise process.
He was playing Paradise.
Yes, he was playing Paradise. And frankly, if I'm in his shoes, I'm going there to do the same thing. I had a nice connection with Bailey right from the jump, but I'm also kind of keeping my options open. Now, fast forward to, I don't know how many days it is in actual Paradise time, but now we've fast forwarded a couple weeks into the show. And now all of a sudden he's like, damn, I really do like Bailey. I think her and I have a future beyond winning the $500,000, that we have a future beyond this show. And I think now his whole mindset has changed, that if Susie came back, I don't think he would feel the same way about Susie. I think he would still be all in on Bailey now.
I wish we could test that.
I wish we could. And you spoke to Bailey, Susie on the podcast.
Yes.
And she said that she wasn't interested, right?
She's not. No.
Not interested. So we've established that. So I think if she came back and he had a chance, Jeremy, to do it all over again, I don't think he would pick Susie. I think he would still pick Bailey. So I think in the moment, did he handle it the right way with Susie? No. He should not have called her. And if he did, he should have addressed that with Bailey. But I also know that he's playing a game. This isn't real life. They're in a reality show, and he's trying to figure out what's best for him in the moment. And maybe he thought he had a better connection with Susie, but now his relationship with Bailey has evolved to the point that I think he's genuinely sorry for what happened. I think he admits
he's sorry he got caught.
Okay. Then I'm wondering what Gina said. Did she leave any notes for you that we could share with the class?
I can go back into the text.
We may have to go back into the text. I know you see my point. Okay. Most of you dislike Brian less.
So Brian, I think he did the right thing. I think the way he did it was weird. I don't think he needed to use the date card to like have a secret conversation.
But that kind of gave him the idea that he wanted to do it.
I think he felt like it was going to give them a private setting to have a private conversation.
Which is hard to do in that
a resort setting.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't want to go in someone's room all the time or whatever.
That looks suspicious.
And they're sharing rooms.
Right, exactly.
So you don't know what girls are going to be around.
Right.
I thought it was interesting. She ran to Jeremy to tell him. And at that point, didn't an alarm bell go off in his head? Like, is he going to say something to her? Or
here's the other thing. The alarm bell, but he never even asked her. Like, my first question to her, first I would have acknowledged what had happened.
Yeah.
Then my next question would have been, if I'm Jeremy, who told you? And he never even asked her that.
Nope.
And I'm like, and I realized at one point he said it's not his place to ask her that. But again, you're in a setting where you're playing a reality show game, and it's almost like you're in survival mode. Yeah. I want to know who was talking, what about me, and bringing this to the surface. Right. But to his point, so many people knew about it and nobody told Bailey. But then Brian felt like he was the one that had to tell Bailey about it.
Did Brian break bro code, in your opinion, or was it something that needed to be said to her?
I think Brian broke bro code because I don't think his intentions were genuine. That's why I think he broke bro code.
If his intentions were genuine, is that breaking bro code?
Yes and no, only because him and Jeremy aren't really bros. Okay. That's the other problem. They're not really good friends. They had this rivalry right from the jump, like I said, going back to Jen's season. So there's already like this weird kind of underlying animosity between those two that I don't think he broke bro code because they're not boys.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of like the little asterisk by there.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you on this. I'm glad that Wells chimed in and said, why is nobody coming to Brian's defense?
And why is no one mad at Jeremy?
Yeah, and why is nobody mad at Jeremy? But I think because everybody realized they're in the scope of the show and this is not real life. And even Bailey said, she goes, if this was real life, I probably would have handled this much differently. She said, because then she said that's why she stayed. Yes, different circumstances. Sure. Right. So I think when you look at it through that lens, I think that's why nobody said anything to her, because they knew it was kind of like, well, Susie's already gone. That was so early in the game that, and I'm not, listen, I'm sure we're going to get comments. I'm not defending what he did. Please don't make that mistake.
Yeah, but would you
I'm merely offering some perspective, at least from my point of view, if I was in Jeremy's shoes.
If you were in Bailey's shoes, let's turn it around.
I mean, it's a little harder for me to answer that, which is why I'm glad you answered it.
But like,
would you have left? You didn't finish your thought.
Oh. Well, I probably would have, and then regretted not staying to compete for the money.
Yeah, right.
You know, because that's going on as well. But I think I would have been emotionally like, oh my gosh, and like, you know,
which she was.
And then,
but I was glad.
If I trust Brian, if I trust him and know that he's telling the truth, I would have left. I wouldn't have given him another chance. In that circumstance.
Okay. Well, she said she slept on it and she wanted to do that. She did pack, she said.
Yeah.
And I think she really likes Brian. And I think she's right that if this were real life, it probably would be different in terms of how she handled it. But she knows this is a game, and it was early in the process when this happened. It wasn't like it was the night before. So their relationship has really blossomed since that time.
It's not that long, though. We've talked about that too. Like,
but
what are we at?
How many days in paradise? Okay, right. But each day feels a lot longer because you just have each other and you're with each other all day.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
So do you want to know what Gina said?
Yes, please read it to the clown.
I don't know if this is breaking girl code or anything, but
no.
I'm going to the texts. She said, this is a very good point. And the girls, I mean, they get mad at other people for less dramatic things. This is huge. And Alex didn't say anything. And I was shocked at that too.
Yeah.
You know, and all the girls, they were all kind of like, why is he inserting himself in this? I think they were suspicious of his motive. And they were offended. They were offended that he kind of tried to pass it off that they were the ones that told Bailey.
But they should have been offended by that. But in reality, shouldn't the ladies be more offended amongst themselves that, to your and Gina's point, that nobody told Bailey that this happened? Yeah. Is that girl code? How about I turn it back on you?
I agree.
Is that girl code that they should have told her what happened?
Yes, I think so. And I think it's tricky in a game atmosphere because you know, feelings and things and coalitions.
And they were like, well, it's not really our place to tell her that because they didn't want to upset her because she's their friend.
If you're a good friend. Yeah, but I think it's more important when you see someone getting that emotionally invested in somebody and having romantic times together and all that stuff that goes with it. Are you going to let her get that far in without like knowing all the information when it's there?
So the question is, if Brian hadn't said anything, would that have ever come to the surface? I don't think it would have. Maybe after the show when she watched it back, yeah.
And I think it would have been a big problem at that point.
Sure. So now she has all the facts, except for the fact that Jeremy didn't fully admit that proposed.
The hook way too early.
Okay.
And easily, I mean.
Well, maybe she didn't want to leave. Yeah. She's in paradise with $500,000 at stake.
Exactly. I think, you know, that's another strategy she could have taken where she'd be like, you know, I don't like you anymore, but let's win the money.
Let's win the money.
You know?
Do you think you could do that? Do you think you could fake your way to $500,000 with some boy that you were mad at?
How much longer is the show?
Well, we don't know. I should be asking you that. You're the Bachelor expert. I mean, we got at least probably 4 more weeks, I would say, right? To get us into September. So, I mean, let's just say another week and a half on the island together.
I guess so, but oh gosh, that's rough.
Yeah. I mean, really $500,000 is not nothing.
I've quit jobs before.
There you go. Exactly. So I don't know. And you can see why there's people on both sides of this. I'm glad Wells said what he said. I'm glad the girls, you know.
I'm so grateful for Wells.
Yeah. Wells, the voice of reason,
he really was.
Chimed in and said what a lot of people were thinking. And Brian, this thing definitely blew up in his face. He didn't see that one coming.
No, I don't think he saw.
And I was surprised at the level at which it had blown up in his face. Also kind of surprised that him and Dale are boys and kind of in cahoots.
Yeah.
And Dale's like, yo, bro, I'm just keeping you updated on what's going on in the house. Here's what everybody's saying. And I'm like, is Dale like the official? Yeah, right. It was almost
the official head bro.
Yeah, he's the official. He's almost like the big bro because he's the oldest guy there.
Tallest.
Yes. So he was like, big bro to little bro. Yo, bro, I'm disappointed in you that this happened.
Yeah.
But you know what? I could see Dale pulling the same shtick because he already went on another date without Kat earlier in the season.
Yes.
So he's kind of cut from the same cloth, if I'm being honest. I wouldn't be surprised that if he would have done something similar, those in glass houses, yada, yada, yada. But this is where we are right now in the house. We've got one golden couple left and the rest of the youngins. And
I think they're on the chopping block.
Oh, they're on the chopping block. I think that's a different show on a different network. So it's a lot of uncertainty here, and we've really kind of set the table for what should be an exciting finish to this season in Bachelor in Paradise. And speaking of exciting things to come, we've got a couple more episodes of Play in the Field coming up this week. Why don't you tell the listeners and the viewers who we have coming up on the show?
Well, we're going to be speaking with Jason Tartick.
Jason Tartick.
Yeah, Blast from the Past.
Blast from the Past. A quick recap for those who aren't familiar with Mr. Tartick.
On Becca Kufrin's season.
And how many years ago were we talking?
That was season 14.
So,
we're on like 19 or 20.
Okay. So
several years.
Several years
He's been
ago.
engaged since to a different bachelorette that he wasn't on the show with, Caitlin.
Interesting.
But that ended.
Caitlin Bristow,
yes,
right? Yes.
Yeah, that ended a couple of years ago. And he's been dating different people since, but... I believe he's single right now.
And is there talks that he could be the new Bachelor?
That's a rumor.
Well, again, this is merely speculation.
Yeah, I have high hopes. I would love that. I would love to see that season. He seems like a great guy. He's from Buffalo, as am I.
Boy, you love that.
He's a big Bills fan.
Well,
so
say no more.
I can't wait to talk to him about that. But... I think he would make a great Bachelor, so we'll have to see.
And
I
he's
hope
a
they're
name,
considering.
Yeah, and he's a name that's familiar to Bachelor Nation.
Yes, and he's big on social media. And then let's see.
Speaking of names who are big in Bachelor Nation,
if you'd like to keep the main thing,
we're keeping the main thing, the main thing. That's what David always says before we start this podcast.
We have Allie Joe's
from
main
the production booth. Let's keep the main thing, the main thing.
Sam M
is finally, we wanted to get him on during Jen's season, and now he's finally coming on the heels of a great interview with Allie Joe.
Yeah. Oh, she is wonderful. And it's so cool that they got together. They missed each other by about a day filming wise.
And for those people that missed that episode, how did they connect then at that point?
Oh, so she basically kind of slid into his DMs.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah, and they connected, and they talked about their time on the show, and he's like, I'm so mad I missed you, and like, let's get together. And they did. And she says they've been flying back and forth like bi-weekly to each other's hometowns where they live. And they went on a road trip recently together. Things look good.
Yeah,
they seem very
I saw it on their social media that they were on a road trip doing a little Q&A on Instagram.
Yeah, it was fun.
They seem cute. They seem like a cute couple.
I mean, I think he's kind of redeemed himself.
I absolutely think he has. And we are looking forward to talking with him this week. One final little news and note. A source close to me, a lot of people are wondering about Leslie and Big G.
Yes.
Gary, because there was a post that Gary posted. They were on a lake somewhere.
Yeah, they were on a boat together, and it looked like things were continuing.
But a source close to me says they are just friends. And
I believe that.
Then we'll see, how their friendship evolves. But they are just friends. A source close to Playing the Field.
Still in the friend zone.
Still in the friend zone. Who doesn't love to be there? Big G in the friend zone. Gotta love it. But listen, we got some exciting things coming up this week. And as we wind down this great season of Bachelor in Paradise, plenty more interviews coming your way. And if you like our podcast, what do you need to do?
Like and follow us.
Like and follow us. Gina will be back for the next episodes. We're excited about that.
Yes.
She is Jen. I am Ryan. This is Playing the Field. We'll see you next time.